Thanks to those of you who zoomed in and those who are watching on YouTube. We meet either physically or virtually on the second Tuesday of every month to celebrate spoken word poetry. I'm Diane Moomey, and Steve Long and I are your hosts this evening. Our featured poet event is being recorded and streamed live onto YouTube as we speak, so anyone can look at it later. We'll be posting the link on our website, www.coastsidepoetry.org. This evening, we welcome Palo Alto poet Christine Holland Cummings. Christine is a poet, herbalist, and garden tender. She's a frequent reader at Bay Area poetry venues, and her poems meditate on our connections to each other and to the more than human world. Her poems have appeared or are forthcoming in Iron Horse Literary Review, Blue Line, Manzanita Quarterly, Hamilton Stone Review, the Sandhill Review, and many others, and in collaboration with David Cummings in the online Writers Resist publication founded immediately after Trump was elected president. Her prize-winning work has been anthologized in Blue Arc West, an anthology of California poets, and in many other anthologies. Please welcome Christine Holland Cummings.
Thank you, Diane. Thank you, everyone, for being here for this reading. I'm very excited and happy to be reading with you today. I'm going to dedicate this reading to Planet Earth and Earth Day, which is coming up next week, because as Diane mentioned, my poetry is very much about our connection to nature. I've always felt like plants and animals are my kin, are my family, along with my human family. And that feeling, that way of thinking about the world shows up in my poetry a lot. You will notice today. Nowadays, I am going through a clinical internship to become a certified herbalist. And I spend a lot of time working with plants and people to help people heal from their imbalances, physical, emotional, spiritual. And this work has shown me that I'm really not just a person with some kooky ideas, which is kind of how I've always felt, but that my lifelong sort of intuition about our place in the natural world was really, for most of our species' existence, just the normal way of life. That's how everybody existed, in connection with the beings, all the beings around us. So in these days, with climate disaster and all of the terrible things that are happening to the planet and to people, I try to write poems that pay attention and respect to the beauty and the value of the more than human world, the human world and the more than human world. That means everything else in the world. So my first two poems actually meditate on some California history. So when I was in the fourth grade, we did a whole unit on the California missions. I don't know if fourth graders still do that. Anybody have a fourth grader? Yeah, they do. But I'm old enough that when I bet they do it a little differently now. When I was in fourth grade many, many, many years ago, the story was about the brave missionaries coming and, sort of civilizing California or whatever. So when I grew up, I learned that wasn't quite how it really was. And this poem came out of that. It's called What They Ate, Mission San Jose, 1800. After the Padres came and built their mud houses where they said, Dios vive, the people ate God's body, a flat white thing with no flavor, and more. They learned to grow wheat for bread, tend cattle and sheep, eat tame fruit picked from trees planted where oaks had dropped acorns. Livestock foraged the hills and meadows. Elk and deer grew lean on small rations or fled. Rivers that had always gone their own way were directed into ditches and ponds, sent in channels to fields of strange new grasses. The people used to choose their path like water. Now they hauled boulders, un trabajo pesado, and cleared canals of silt. After such hard labor, the padres promised, they would rest in El Cielo, where no one goes hungry, no one works, and El Señor would give back all they had lost. When they sickened and died in great numbers, they were glad at least that once again they would eat salmon and horn snails, wild buckwheat and fennel, mussels and blackberries, fiddleneck shoots, the sweet, oily acorn baked on hot stones. I have to change my glasses. Thank you. So I've been to the Squaw Valley Community of Writers Summer Workshop 3 times. And it's amazing. If you haven't been, apply when they start doing it. I'm sure it's great virtually, but when we can go there for real, it's just so amazing to be in the mountains with all the writers. But anyway, the week always includes an opportunity to do walks with a naturalist. And David Lucas was the naturalist a couple of the years when I was there, and he is incredible, just an amazing fount of information about the region, the natural history, the history, the human history, the geology, this poem was inspired by something he told us about how the valley had been used by the indigenous folks that lived there, a couple centuries ago. A couple of botanical notes on this. This introduction is way longer than the poem, by the way. Aspens are mentioned. Aspens grow in large clonal colonies. So the aspen is actually like a big root mass underground, and it puts up, they're not even, aspens aren't really trees. They're like big branches coming out of the mass in the ground. And those individual trees can live for 40 to 150 years, but the underground mass lives a long time. The oldest one that's been found is in Utah, and they think it's about 80,000 years old. So, aspens live forever. And the other botanical thing in here is mahalamat, is a California native ground covering shrub that is very thorny and prickly. It's actually a kind of ceanothus, if you know anything about native plants. And this is called Lyric, Squaw Valley, 1832. On the southern lava flank, those sentinel aspens, ageless, overlook the great marshy meadow where unrolls the ice melt flooded creek in lazy curves, and out there, the Washoe women bend and dig sweet onion, camas root, fill their willow baskets with spring abundance. Their babes laid on soft hides thrown over bristly mahala mat to keep them safe contained, kick their chubby legs, stretch their hands toward tiger swallowtails who hover close to ask if these little ones are blossoms, not blossoms, nor seeds, but sprouts, just emerged from the earth of their mothers. And now, Steve, we're coming to the multimedia portion of the reading. I wrote this poem when I was studying to become a certified California naturalist. It's kind of a list poem. It includes the names of a lot of California native species, which I worry it could be a bit tedious if you aren't familiar with the species named. So to help it come alive, we have pictures, and whenever Steve gets that loaded on there, Yeah, there it is. Say common yellow throat, and he appears. Bright lemon breast and black wings, feet clutching the reed that grows out of his marsh. Say purple needlegrass, and it shines and tosses its seed heads in the wind. Say acorn woodpecker, and hear the waka 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 of the clan who fly to their dead tree stash, arrange themselves on the limbs, and watch the sky for rivals. Say fence lizard, and spy him on his rail, the color of that faded wood, lifting his head to catch your scent, spying you, ready to recede into shadows when he knows you notice him. Say northern harrier, and she glides low over the slough, her white belly flashes just above, seeking her meal, whose name is salt marsh harvest mouse, sleeping in the pickleweed that tastes, yes, salty when you break off a piece and put it on your tongue. Say Bewick's wren, and there he is, white eyebrow, jaunty tail feathers, climbing that redwood with its dark, grooved bark and ferny leaves. Say western grebe, eared grebe, Clark's grebe. They are different and the same. Your eye tells you which is which as they float on the slough, as they look and look, left and right, dive and surface, dive again. Say live oak, valley oak, blue oak, black oak, leather oak, or say Quercus agrifolia, Quercus lobata, Quercus douglasii, Quercus cologii, Quercus dorata, if you want to be fancy. Their leaves, their bark, their acorns, different and same, a family resemblance. You can recognize it now. You can say that is an oak and be certain of it, even if you're not sure which oak. They're your family too. Tell the truth. You've loved them all your life. Oak, mouse, hawk, weed, butterfly, spider, lizard, songbird, fox, fish. Each word names a group, calls to mind a generic thing, category of oakness or fishness. Give me instead this black oak, who shades my head on a hot summer day. This salt marsh harvest mouse, who lines an old bird's nest with grass for a bed. This red-shouldered hawk, who calls to us children from the top of this blue gum. This narrow-leaf milkweed, devoured by the larvae of this monarch butterfly, who flew so far to lay her eggs. This alligator lizard, who's already grown back half the tail a raccoon nipped off. This trash-line spider, who traps a crane fly for lunch. This marsh wren, who sings the boundaries of his territory. This gray fox, who slips across a dark one-lane road, moonlight polishing her coat. This brown trout, who rests in the cool stream, his spots, his open mouth, a caliper. Thank you, Steve. Thank you. So I think a lot about reproduction, human and otherwise. It's pretty fascinating. It's a miracle. It's a mystery. So I wrote this poem when a friend was pregnant with her first baby, and it explores some of the ways human reproduction is similar to and part of the larger pattern of the fecundity of the world, the fertility of the world. So the title is Paris, Parous, which basically means producing offspring in a certain manner. So oviparous means producing offspring by laying eggs, right? Or viviparous, having live births. So Paris. The pregnant woman is patient. Even her sitting still, her lying down, feed the life inside her. body, that wise woman, that project manager extraordinaire, knows the order of things, as the seedling knows to face the sun, as the root knows to push down, down, to branch and branch again, as the flower knows to open, to butterfly, to hummingbird, to give them sugar. The pregnant woman sleeping turns and turns again. Insistently, the fetus presses against her womb. Her dreams are full of colors and black birds. They wheel around her in the sky, call out the ancestors' names. Her heart's pulse echoes in the blood of the baby whose wastes flush through her liver, her kidneys. She dreams a great marsh and the blaze of the sun on cold, clean water. Thank you. So when I was 7, my family moved here to the Bay Area. We had been living in Poughkeepsie in the Hudson River Valley in New York. And when we moved here in my suburban neighborhood in sort of East Los Gatos, there was a plot of land full of weeds in the next block over from our house. And I used to go and trample the dry grass down and lie there and just soak up the sun. The plot got bulldozed pretty soon and the houses got built on it, which was very sad for me. But that little meadow has stayed with me over the years as an image. So this is called Meadow. It's my first and only attempt at a ghazal or ghazal meadow. Standing beneath the yellow sun before you, there lies a meadow. Breathe in the sweet, acrid scent of the weeds that cover this meadow. To feed their kind, bees rummage inside the straw-colored flowers and in turn spread pollen that renews the life of the meadow. What is your role here, you who stop at the edge and watch the bees, the flowers, the sunlight that glitters across the bending grass meadow? Do you claim dominion here? Is it your place to rearrange, to plow, to build? Can you bear to do nothing? Leave it for those who belong to the meadow? Christine, will you ever stop dreaming that lost childhood realm, place of first permission that comes to you always as a meadow? Hey, thank you. So lately, studying and working towards becoming a healer, I'm meditating on how working with plants and in my garden and with nature have been integral to my sense of being well, of becoming my own true self, of healing myself. So this next poem showed up as a kind of, I think, just an offering of gratitude to the personal healing I've experienced as I've moved deeper into the work of herbalism. It's called Inventory of My Wellness. I don't have so much heartburn anymore. Burdock has healed the acid sting. My eyes weaken, but they still see. My legs hold me up, my feet not broken. My back is strong and I have work. Some of it I love. My ears sing to me a continuous sea above high sea, a scream. No wonder I'm so anxious. But this is about wellness. In the garden, sprouts of mugwort, lemon balm, yarrow, elder, weaponless, red cedar with its gold-tipped needles, fecund Nigella sativa ripening her black seeds. The earth makes food. See there, take and eat. It's given to you. You're welcome. Tears shelter somewhere inside my body, I think in the lungs. I hold them in, keep them close. And when I don't, when I let them rise and spill, they water me and I can breathe. And on the subject of gardens, I have a very messy, overgrown garden that I love. It's full of California native plants and both native and non-native herbs that I grow to feed the pollinators and also to make plant medicine with. The older I get, the more I want to be like my garden, free and wild and just without inhibition. So I'm claiming my cronehood. And this is called A Woman. This was written like in the blue moon at Halloween at Samhain, the witch's Sabbath moon in October. It's called A Woman of a Certain Age. In dreams, I kiss the beautiful lips of young men with passionless longing and wake to mirrored, crumpled skin and whisper to this altered self, crone, no one will ever desire you again. This very night I'll dance restless and wild for the moon, full moon, blue moon, Samhain moon. Let her light expose the droop of my breasts, ample, belly's bulge, crepe of sagging skin. Shade me the gray of this undyed hair, bleed color from my face, my arms, the muscles of my calves until I'm quickened marble. Luna, triple goddess, rise into my bloodless womb and rule within. Does everybody know what the triple goddess is? Triple goddess is the mother maiden mother crone, the crescent, the new moon, the full moon, the waning moon. Anyway, that's that image. Okay. This was a little long. I wrote it in the summer of 2017 when we were really, and I'm sorry to bring Donald Trump into this, but I feel I have to. In the summer of 2017, we were really starting to understand just how horrible he was going to be. That August was Charlottesville. And David and I went to Montana during that incident. We were in Montana for the memorial celebration of a dear friend who had recently passed away. We went to Livingston, Montana, where he went every year for several months to make art and fly fish on the Yellowstone. And just to help you be located, this does switch locations. The Broad Brown Valley in the first stanza is actually the area around Wairika in Siskiyou County, about 40 miles north of where Mount Shasta is. And I lived there for a few years with my first husband. We raised sheep and we had a whole bunch of dogs, Border Collies and Great Pyrenees guard dogs. Anyway, that's enough background on that. This is called These Waters Divided. Those years were sorrows when I lived in a broad brown valley unfurling under volcanoes who kept their own counsel. Afternoon winds there tore my soul, that unpaid bill, into 100 pieces and carried it away. In a dream, I am standing on the sandy bank of a wide, slow-moving river. Dogs in the water and on the shore, retrieving thrown balls, swimming out and back. Kel among them. I call them all in, but she does not return, and I go looking for her, see her body motionless in the water, dropping down, down, down into depths that do not end. And I dive and kick and push myself as hard as I can and cannot reach her, and I am running out of air. Years later, in Livingston, by the river for real, sitting on a bench above a bend in the Yellowstone, cool, pleasant wind, clouds overhead. A woman killed in Charlottesville, angry young men who feel like they don't matter anymore. They will make themselves matter. White boxer on a walk comes by, says hi. His owner's white too. It's Montana. Buzz-cut hair and burly torso, likely voted for the obscenity in the White House. He's friendly to me, a white woman, and his dog likes me. These days are sorrows. My country's torn apart, a million pieces. and all my lost ones lost forever. The river takes them, takes all of us sooner or later. On the Yellowstone, a red raft, cargo of human bodies carried on the current, high water, fast water, oars aloft, white water. On the island in the river bend, two small brown birds feed themselves from what is provided there. The current's sound is soul retrieving. Dark water splits apart, the island in between. Some goes one way, some goes the other, but it is still the same river on this side, on that side. These waters divided will rejoin downstream and again divide and join. This is my last poem. So I don't know that it needs any introduction, really. It's called A Book of Hours. The hour of the splinter in the thumb, when touch is painful. The hour lost, its brothers. The hour of cement almost dry, too hard for a name. The four-legged hour that crawls. The hour of glacier, cumulonimbus, ghost moon rising. The lonely hour of getting out of school. The hour of green frogs. The flooded hours before the gates are closed. The hour of the red-crowned crane. The hour of soft laughter in the dark. The driving hour, it's dust on your face, it's volcano. The hour of ice cream by the Clark Fork River. The hour gone missing, no reward will bring it back. The fecund hour, pale zoo, opal ice. The hour of lambs to auction, and then the hour of frost. The hour of hot soup, buttered toast, apple slice. The hour of scat, hiding feathers, fur, splintered bones. The hour of the mackerel sky. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Christine. That was just wonderful.
Oh, thank you.
And let's take a few moments, and anyone who would like to say something to Christine, feel free to unmute yourself. You can also put things in the chat. I forgot to mention that earlier, that we'll save the chat at the end, so you can write anything you want in there. And also, Christine, if you have any links to any books or places where your poems are published, feel free to put those links in the chat.
No.
Chris, I just want to say really quick how much I enjoyed that, and remembering how you talked about that farm before and everything. It all came into focus. Thanks so much.
Well, thanks, Steve.
Thank you. I loved your work.
Thank you.
It's wonderful to hear so many new poems from you, Chris. It's lovely.
you.
Thanks for the beautiful reading.
Oh, thank you.
The chat is disabled.
It is?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Oh, no wonder.
So I lied. I thought it was available like it always is.
Okay, there.
Christine, I loved your presentation. It was marvelous. I particularly loved volcanoes who kept their own counsel. With all the news today about nature and volcanoes and so on. Thank you very much. Very timely.
Yeah, chat's happening. I can
Yeah,
see
the chat is happening now.
Yeah.
Is Squaw Valley, oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Is Squaw Valley going to be up and running, Chris?
I think they're still doing it virtually this year. That's the latest I've heard. So,
Gotcha.
yeah.
No, I was just going to say, as much as I've loved your naturalist list and the pictures, but no matter how many times I hear them and see them, they just don't seem to stick. One or two maybe, but
Okay. You keep the ones you need, right?
exactly. Or you go, oh, you know, I think that's a, and you make it up every time.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what I noticed. I really like the word fecund. It's like I
Ooh.
said it 3 times.
That's an excellent word.
It's a lovely word. It's one of my favorites.
I liked hearing the Latin too. It's fun to hear those quirkus, whatever those words were.
Yeah, fun to say.
I want to say I love I like all the birds. Anything with birds, I go crazy for. I
Yeah.
love the subtlety of your work. It's like nature itself. It's like walking in, and it's very careful. It doesn't try to startle them. But I've only seen one yellowthroat in my entire time in Palo Alto, and I say it's common.
Yeah,
One.
they are pretty common, but I think they kind of hide in the reeds, so it's hard to get a glimpse of them. But yeah, if you know their call, they you know, you can at least know where they are. I should have done sounds with it. Oh, next time.
It was
Oh, Lordy,
very
we had enough to get
True
that.
multimedia.
it was very interesting to hear about the aspen communities that have lasted for thousands of years.
Yes.
Oh yeah, that's amazing.
Mhm. Yeah.
I wanted to say how I appreciated your nature imagery always keeps its finger on the pulse of the emotion that you're trying to get across, which is, you know, there's a lot of poetry that uses nature imagery, but sometimes it loses that. And that was really a pleasure to
Wow.
hear.
Thank you for saying that. I'm glad that that came through to you. I wonder about that a lot. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's a good point. Yeah. Always feels relevant, like like the human nature interface. And you never get academic with it. Cool.
Try not to.
Well, there was that Latin though.
There was that
There
Latin.
was that Latin, but you know, if you're a Latin person, then Latin is just your language.
That's just, yeah, that's just me, because I'm blessed with the kind of memory that it remembers those botanical names, like a lot of people aren't. So I realize that I'm lucky. And for me, it's really fun to say those words. It's not
Great to
about,
hear them. Great
yeah.
to hear them too. It's just
But
I just wanted to, sorry, go ahead, Muriel.
you generally balance it. You say this kind of oak and the Latin oak, and this English word oak and the Latin.
Yeah,
So
right.
that's helpful.
Yeah. Those pictures.
Yeah, I just wanted to add to that something like what Muriel said. It was so well balanced, the nature imagery. And Christine, I absolutely loved how you have evoked the natural world around us, and each little bird and tree, and it all comes to life because you've brought them into character through each of your poems. So thank you for the beautiful journey that you took us through.
Thank you so much, Monica.
Yes.
Well, I can only stand so much of this, so.
Okay, well then that's my cue. Thank you
I'd
so
love
much.
to hear other people read. Thank you.
We'll stop recording now. Those of you in the Zoom room, please stay online if you'd like to take part in the open mic. Thanks to all our YouTube listeners. Please tune in for our next regular Coastside Poetry event on Tuesday, April 14th, when we'll give a welcome back to one of our favorites, East Bay poet James Cagney Jr.
When?
That brings us to the end of tonight's program. Thank you so much for joining us at Coastside Poetry and for helping to keep the lamps of poetry burning.